There are two previous parts to this movie, where its story has been explained really well. And now, let's move forward in the story. At the beginning of this story, we see 4 college students, all having a great time river rafting in West Virginia. These 4 students were also camping at the same spot. Just then, Alex realizes that Trey isn't there, so she goes out to look for him, leaving Sophie and Brent alone. That's when Three Finger shows up and attacks them with his arrow, which goes straight through. Before the two of them can even process what's happening, he shoots another arrow right into Sophie's eye, making her eye pop out, and Sophie dies right there. But Brent, panicking, runs away from the spot. By this time, Alex also arrives at the scene. She sees that Three Finger is eating Sophie's eye in a really bizarre way. Seeing this, Alex hides right there. Just then, Trey also arrives with some firewood, but Three Finger spots him and attacks him too. But somehow, he manages to save himself and starts running towards the forest. However, Three Finger catches him too and kills him in a very brutal way. And Brent also falls into the mutant's trap and becomes their victim, leaving Alex as the only one from their team, her friends, who is still alive. Here, the scene shifts. After this, we see a prison in West Virginia where some inmates are to be taken out of the jail and transferred to another location. This responsibility has been given to 3 police officers, and there are 5 prisoners who are to be transferred. One of them is Jarvis, who was the head of a mafia organization, and everything was happening because of him. All of them were supposed to be transferred 2 weeks later, but the police officers find out that Jarvis's men might hijack the bus on the way and break Jarvis out. And that's the reason they planned an emergency transfer. Along with that, they also changed their route, and the new route was quite dangerous. This was the same paper mill route. They put all the prisoners on the bus and started heading toward their destination. On the way, they all stop at a police station where they meet Sheriff Carl and Deputy Lane. And that's also where we see Three Toes, who is Three Finger's nephew. And he's the same kid from the last scene of the previous part of the story, the little boy whom Three Finger was feeding. And he still hasn't grown up much. But even so, he's already setting up traps to catch people, when suddenly he ends up getting caught in his own trap. That's when Three Finger comes and helps him out. After that, the two of them finish setting up their trap and leave from there. Meanwhile, after taking a rest at the police station, the others set out towards their destination. As soon as they get onto Paper Mill Road, a truck starts following them, and it's none other than Three Finger himself. First, he jams barbed wire into the truck's tire, causing it to puncture. Because of that, the bus starts to lose control and tumbles off the road. Three Finger stops his vehicle and goes to check on them, but he doesn't attack them at that moment. Down below, the police officer gets all the prisoners out of the bus, and taking advantage of the chaos, Jarvis snatches the officer's gun from him. Just then, another police officer named Peslow comes up from behind and holds Jarvis at gunpoint. But before he can do anything, knife comes flying straight into his neck, killing him instantly. At this point, all the prisoners start to think that these must be Jarvis's men behind everything that's happening. But suddenly, they too come under attack from a barrage of arrows. Now they realize that this can't possibly be Jarvis's men doing all this. Jarvis tells a cop named Ned to unlock everyone's handcuffs, or else he'll shoot him with his own gun. But Ned replies that the key is still inside the bus, and the bus is completely on fire, about to explode at any moment. A police officer named Walter was also trapped inside the bus, injured. And when Ned goes in to get the key, he manages to rescue Walter from there just in the nick of time. The keys that Ned brought back were completely useless. But even then, Walter doesn't kill him, because he knows that Ned is the only one who can get them out of this jungle. After that, they all start moving forward, when suddenly a girl bursts out from the bushes and attacks Ned. And that girl was none other than Alex, the one who had escaped from Three Finger at the beginning of the story. She tells them that there's a mutant living here who kills people in a horrible way and then eats them. But no one believes what she's saying. She also tells them about her rafting experience. Hearing this, Jarvis tells her to take them to that location, and she starts leading them there. Since he was threatening her with his gun, she had no choice but to do as he said. On the way, they come across a bus that's completely overturned and locked from the back. Jarvis sends Nate to check the cab, and there he finds its keys and a gun as well. He picks up the gun and hands it to Walter, and when they open the van to check inside, they see that it's filled with money. Seeing so much money, everyone is stunned, and Jarvis tells them to each grab 2 bags and leave with him. So everyone picks up 2 bags each, but Walter was injured and couldn't lift a bag. At this, Jarvis forces him to pick up a bag anyway, but seizing the opportunity, Walter tries to shoot Jarvis. Unfortunately, the gun was empty. Jarvis doesn't hesitate for even a second. He shoots Walter straight in the head, killing him instantly. And all of this was being watched by Nate, who couldn't do anything because he was helpless. After that, Jarvis tells everyone to move forward. We see that Alex is leading the group, since she's the only one who knows the way around here. As they move ahead, her foot gets caught in one of Three Finger's traps, but Nate manages to save her. However, Three Finger was hiding nearby and suddenly jumps out to attack them, but Jarvis shoots him and knocks him down. Seeing this, Alex tells them that this isn't the mutant she saw killing her friends. Just then, an idea pops into Jarvis's head. He leaves a clue for Three Finger, and everyone moves ahead. When Three Finger arrives, he sees the heads of his 3 dogs hanging from a stick. Seeing this, he goes absolutely berserk and starts screaming like a madman. In other words, now he had lost his mind even more than before. Meanwhile, as everyone was moving forward, they notice something hanging up ahead, and Jarvis grabs hold of it. But Willie realizes that it's actually a trap set for them. He pushes Jarvis out of the way to save him, but in doing so, he has to pay a heavy price. He ends up losing his own life, and in exchange for saving Jarvis ends up cutting off his legs. He does this because Willie was chained up. So after cutting off his leg, he finally separates from him, and now they all start moving forward. In the next scene, at the police station, Deputy Lane gets a lead on the 4 missing students, and the sheriff still hasn't received any call from Nat, which makes him quite worried. He starts to think that maybe someone has hijacked their bus, so he sets out to find all of them, while Lane goes in the other direction to look for the college students. Meanwhile, all of them end up in an old broken-down cabin, where they find some tools and use them to cut through their chains. As they move a little further ahead, they spot Three Fingers' truck, even though they all know that this is a trap set for them. But even then, Jarvis, without caring about anyone's life, sends one of his men forward. As soon as his man approaches Three Fingers' truck, Three Finger traps him in barbed wire, starts driving the truck away, and drags the man brutally along the road. Three Finger keeps doing this until the prisoner is dead, and just then, taking advantage of the chaos, Floyd attacks Jarvis from behind and tries to kill him. Seizing this opportunity, Alex and Ned escape from there. Jarvis beats Floyd so badly that he's left half dead. They just leave him there and walk away. The sheriff arrives at the overturned bus, and after seeing everything, he reports the situation to his head constable. Then, taking his dog with him, he heads into the forest to search for Ned. Brandon tells Jarvis that they should leave the money here and go look for Ned. Hearing this, Jarvis agrees, and leaving the money behind, they go to look for Ned. Eventually, they find Ned, and just as Jarvis is about to kill him, Ned tells him that there's a watchtower nearby where they can contact someone for help. Jarvis gives him one last chance and tells him to head towards the watchtower. But as soon as they reach the tower, they see that the watchtower has been burned to ashes. It was set on fire by those 3 mutant brothers we saw in the earlier part of this story. When they find nothing there, Jarvis gets angry and points his gun at Nate's head. But just then, the sheriff's dog shows up and grabs him. The sheriff also arrives right on time and tells them to leave the place. But just then, Three Finger, who was sitting up in a tree, throws his spear downwards. It goes straight through the sheriff's mouth, piercing right through, and he dies there in a gruesome way. Taking advantage of the situation, Jarvis grabs the sheriff's gun and holds Nate at gunpoint, telling him that they're going back to get all their money. But Floyd was running away with all the money. And just then, Jarvis hears his voice and starts heading in his direction. But before that can happen, Three Finger shows up and burns Floyd, along with all the money. After that, everyone tries to escape from there. But once again, Three Fingers' truck appears in front of them. And this time, Jarvis tells Alex to go to the truck. When she gets close, Three Finger grabs Alex and drives away with her in his truck. Ned tries really hard to save her, but he can't. Then Jarvis grabs him and holds him at gunpoint, about to shoot him, when suddenly Brandon comes from behind, knocks Jarvis out, and leaves him there. After that, both Ned and Brandon go their separate ways. Three Finger drags Alex away and ties him up in his house. There, we also see Deputy Lane's body, whom Three Finger had already captured and killed earlier, leaving the body in a terrible state. In the forest, Brandon was trying to escape when Jarvis suddenly appears, knocks him out, and moves forward. Just then, Three Finger also shows up, and the two come face to face. But Jarvis wasn't the kind of guy who runs away out of fear. He fights him. Jarvis starts beating up Three Fingers so badly that his face becomes so disfigured, he's almost unrecognizable. But then, Three Finger overpowers Jarvis, kills him, cracks open his skull, and starts eating his brain. Here, Nate finds the sheriff's dog, and the dog leads him straight to Alex. Right away, he frees Alex, and they try to get out of there. But then, Three Finger shows up and attacks them. Three Finger was just about to kill Nate when Alex grabs a piece of wood and strikes him from behind, killing him. After that, the two of them take his truck and drive away from there. But suddenly, Three Finger appears right in front of their truck. Turns out he wasn't completely dead-end. He climbs onto the truck, grabbing Nate. This throws the truck off balance, and it crashes straight into a tree, catching fire in the process. Just then, Brandon shows up and pulls both of them out of the truck. But Three Finger isn't about to let them get away that easily, and he attacks them again. This time, though, Nate uses Three Finger's own tool to stab him straight in the head, then throws him onto the burning truck. The truck explodes completely with Three Finger inside. Nate frees Brandon and lets him leave. The next day, the entire police team arrives at the scene, and both Nate and Alex are saved. A few days later, driven by greed for the money, Nate returns to the truck. But just then, someone attacks him from behind and kills him, and that someone is none other than Brandon, the very person Nate had trusted and set free. Now, as Brandon starts to pick up the money, another mutant appears and puts him to death as well. No one here had any idea who this mutant actually was. And with that, the story comes to an end right here. If you want to find out who this mysterious mutant really is, don't forget to write part 4 in the comments below. Thanks for watching.